I think the term is backfiring. It is backfiring on Pope Francis. What he did, what he said, and the attitude he's held for all these years is now beginning to backfire. No, as a matter of fact, you can be cruel to your neighbor by not having policies, because you open your neighbor to all sorts of disadvantages and being taken advantage of. I disagree with Papa Bergoglio with what he wrote, because he's coming from a theology of liberation mentality, which is basically Marxism. And here's the thing too, the delicious part of all of this. We couldn't get anyone to speak for 20, 30, 40 years on moral issues: divorce, remarriage, communion, homosexual marriages, abortion. Take away the money or threaten to take away the money. All of a sudden you hear from everybody on moral issues.
By the way, my name is Joe McClane. I host a radio program called A Catholic Take, where we look at the world through a Catholic lens. I'd love for you to hang out with us. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and let us know what you think in the comments below. Father Charles Murr is on the team today. Praise be to God, all the way from sunny Spain, I suppose. Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is, Father. Thank you for your time.
It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon in sunny Spain.
You probably have a hot take or two. Yesterday, Pope Francis came out with his hot take on immigration, pushing back against J.D. Vance and many Catholics that would, support Donald Trump and his immigration policy. And now bishops are having to put their 2 cents in, right? They're all having to say something. So some are coming out for, some are coming out against. Recently, Wisconsin bishops have come out and said, no, we should have sensible, secure borders. What do you say about this from a Catholic perspective? Are we not being charitable to our neighbor if we have sensible border policies? Immigration policy?
No, as a matter of fact, you can be cruel to your neighbor by not having policies, because you open your neighbor to all sorts of disadvantages and being taken advantage of and manipulated. And no, you can get into a real mess that way. And being a non-communist, I disagree with Papa Bergoglio with what he wrote, because he's coming from a theology of liberation mentality, which is basically Marxism, and which denies your right as an individual to own property. Actually denies your right as an individual to be an individual. Right. That's the craziest thing about it. It really is. So when you deny all of those things, when you deny that as a premise, you get yourself into big trouble. When our vice president, who almost could have quoted St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas on the levels of love, made a proper distinction, was fantastic. That was debunked by the pontiff, on very poor grounds. I mean, it's just he's getting himself into a lot of trouble. And here's the thing too that I think is the delicious part of all of this. We couldn't get anyone to speak for 20, 30, 40 years on moral issues. Right. Divorce, remarriage, communion, homosexual marriages, abortion. Please let me not forget abortion. Horrible, horrible, horrible sin. The sin that's affecting all of our society. Everyone wants to shy away from that. Joe, take away the money or threaten to take away the money. All of a sudden you hear from everybody on moral issues. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how that happens? Isn't that incredible? Just incredible.
It's amazing. Now, you've spent a lot of time at the Vatican. I've been there a few times. I can't imagine it might be possible for me to, sneak into the Vatican and have a nap in the Vatican gardens and that be okay, right? I mean, somehow what's good for thee is not for me, right? It seems bizarre. It really does seem legitimately. I'm not just trying to be a snarky, a talking head here, but it literally seems weird for someone who obviously, and rightly so, has huge walls surrounding the Vatican and armed guards, not just the guys with the spears, but guys with guns too, that protect the place. Rightly so. At the same time, would criticize a country for wanting to overhaul and try to correct some of the grievous errors it's obviously allowed to happen over the past many years when it comes to illegal immigration. I don't like it's. That's really
Let me ask
bizarre.
you a question, Joe. Let me ask you a question. You've been alive for quite a few years and you know what life is about and you've experienced a lot of it. Have you ever seen a Marxist live on the level of the people he's ruling, he's governing?
No, never.
No, never. So this follows suit. This is perfectly. Of course, it's hypocritical. There's no question that it's hypocritical. It's beyond hypocritical. It's ridiculously hypocritical. It's so hypocritical that you might even miss it because it's so obvious. It's that hypocritical. And besides, I think you're missing something to that the speculation you were forming. Only last month, 30 days ago, the Vatican came out with new regulations for fining and imprisoning people who break into to the Holy City. It's just incredible. I worked there for 5 years, and security. I worked in the Vatican for 5 years, and the security was always. It was a major concern, and it was taken care of because you have a lot of people like this, the madman who got up on the altar and threw all of the candlesticks off and everything else. You know, another one years ago, I think it was 1974, 5, I can't remember exactly when, who broke the Pietà, came in with a sledgehammer to destroy the Pietà, Michelangelo's Pietà. You have those kind of nutcases. And you've got to watch out for them because they are dangerous. They would kill the Pope. They would kill anybody around. They're off their bean. So you've got to have a security. To say you don't is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And now to not apply those individual concerns to a broader base, which would be a national concern, to not be able to understand what borders are about, is. It's almost too unbelievable that you're incapable of doing that. It's just it's unbelievable. If you can apply those things to yourself, why can't you apply them to other? That's it.
What do you think about the bishops that are speaking out versus the ones that are just going along to get along here? I think it seems to me that bishops are feeling the pressure and have to say something. Now that the Pope has chimed in on this.
The difference between His Holiness and their excellencies is that their excellencies live closer. They don't live with yet. They're not contaminated completely by living with people, with lay people. They do maintain their distance from the laity. However, they're closer to that contamination than His Holiness. And those people, a lot of them, are the people who take care of paying for A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. These are the people who give. Well, they're listening to those people. And when those people, again, money people, when money speaks, don't think it doesn't. It really does. And it speaks quite clearly. And it's oh my goodness, it speaks multiple languages. All the languages in the world, as a matter of fact. When those people speak and they threaten to withhold, and you're talking about people when you go on for example, a renovation of your cathedral. Okay, we're going to renovate the cathedral. Well, recavate the cathedral, which is what they've done. They've destroyed. But all of that recavation costs $2, $3, $4 million. Wow. You're talking to people who take out a checkbook and write a check for $100,000, $200,000 toward those kind of things. When they tell you that they're upset with what's coming out of Rome, that's when our bishops listen. That's when they listen, because now you're threatening the income. And therefore, which is an odd thing, because in the nearly 12 years of this pontificate, we haven't heard. Well, we've heard a few bishops say something, and they've been almost excommunicated,
right?
Suspended, threatened with excommunication. Also, all of a sudden, these people are saying, "Just a minute, the man is getting older. Perhaps we can speak a little bit freer right now." I've got people on the other side pushing me, right? And they're listening. And yes, It is. I think the term is backfiring. It is backfiring on Pope Francis. What he did, what he said, and the attitude he's held for all these years is now beginning to backfire, because this is not going to be the road that is going to be taken by the cardinals in the next election. It's not. I'm telling you, it's not. They have to look at a way to be able to get along with everybody in the world and not make enemies. It's also, now this is me talking. This is my opinion, okay? This isn't anything from on high. This is from on low. Right? The thing is this: the reality of Donald John Trump is a very vivid reality. It's here, and I hope to stay, because what he's affecting is fantastic. To hear, Joe, to hear that the Department of Education is going out of business, I never thought I'd see the day.
Right.
Well, I hope it's, but that's what's being planned. To hear that aid, the Agency for International Development, is being investigated from top to bottom. This is unheard of. This is fantastic. This is what is pleasing to people. Yeah. And Trump knows this. Every politician, I'm 75 years old. Every politician I've ever heard in my life promises to do all of these changes. Not one of them has. The closest we came to was with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan wanted to declare war on drugs, but not just war on drugs. He wanted the military involved in this war on drugs, and Congress said no. Right? So then I understood, well, they're simply not serious. Yeah. Right? Everyone promises this, they don't give it. Trump promised it because Trump was listening. What a great thing for him to have lost, air quotes, the penultimate election, because it gave him 4 years to figure out what was wrong with the first 4 years and how to come back and put in a rather ideal government, new settings, trustworthy people. It's fantastic. People listen to that, and that is what's got the overwhelming majority of voters, if not the entire country, behind him. This is good. Now, the bishops, you think the bishops aren't watching that? You think they're not seeing that? You think they're not watching and listening and seeing the direction that things are taking? They are very much so. So they don't want to be caught up in something that's going nowhere and is wrong philosophically. Actually, it's Catholically speaking, if one can say so, it's wrong. It's wrong. This is not a Catholic stance on immigration or on concern for the poor. Even it's simply not.
Exactly.
So I think everyone is sort of checking his bets a little bit, right? These are interesting times.
We live in not boring times. Praise be to God. I do want to ask you though about the ecumenical dialogue that Pope Francis recently seemed to indicate with the Orthodox, trying and hoping to bring about unity. But I wonder, because it seems like we're giving away the farm here. He wants to concede on the date for Easter. We have two different calendars. We have Julian, Gregorian. We have, moon phases and all these things going on. And it's like reading the Farmer's Almanac. Okay, now we can pick the date for Easter. So are we giving up too much in an effort to bring about unity? That's what I want to hear from you.
Well, there are two schools of thought, right? One is this. And there's something to be said for both, okay? It's not so black and so white. One is this, that we should be more pragmatic and simply say there's a date for Easter and this is going to be the date, whether it be, let's say, the 25th of April. The other is that historically we have always maintained the arguments for this, the lunar calendar, the sun calendar, they're fascinating arguments. Historically speaking, they're very interesting, the reasons why. And I think our concepts, which are official, as a matter of fact, we've told the Eastern Church to get in line many times with this, has to do with the seasons. It really is more seasonal. We're trying to find the perfect day in spring for the resurrection of Christ Jesus. That's the idea. And we go with the seasons. However, for the sake of ecumenism, I could see conceding, saying, yes, let's agree on a date so that we don't have this problem every year, especially in different cities of the United States and around the world, where you have a large Orthodox community and a large Catholic community. There's always this confusion around those dates. Also for Christmas, we've got the same thing going on. But if you really want, here's my opinion. If you really want unity, Christian unity, I would suggest that we clean up our liturgy to begin with, because that's probably the thing that is most off-putting to the Orthodox. An Orthodox man or woman, or child for that matter, cannot enter into a Catholic church today, into a regular parish, where people are singing still songs from the 1960s. They were horrible in the 1960s. They're worse today. Strumming guitars and doing cartwheels and flip-flops and the priest wearing jerseys for his favorite football team and jumping up. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. And the Orthodox are particularly appalled by that.
Right.
I've got to tell you one story, just one story to get across the idea. The Orthodox have no exposition of the Blessed Sacrament.
Wow.
Why? Because you are not to look at the consecrated host.
Interesting.
You're not to do that. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's out of respect and awe. You should not be looking at this. One seminary in the United States, I won't mention which, and these were well-intentioned people. Okay. They wanted to do something to get closer to the Greek Orthodox. So they invited, from seminary to seminary, they invited the entire Greek Orthodox seminary to the Roman Catholic seminary for for Vespers, to pray Vespers together. And they said, well, what do we have in common? We have prayer, the Vespers, the Psalms. We also have the Eucharist. Both churches believe in the real presence of Christ Jesus in the Eucharist. So let's have a holy hour, benediction, right? And then and with dinner and some talks would be a very nice thing to emphasize the common ground. Well, I'm laughing because I can see it every time. When they put out the Blessed Sacrament in the monstrance on the altar, the Orthodox, many of them got up and backwards walked out of the chapel with their heads down, not looking. It ruined the whole evening.
All of a sudden, the schism has grown deeper.
That's right, because nobody had taken time to put the program, to talk to them about the program. What did they think about it? But I thought it was hilarious, but they were both well-meaning. You just got to watch out what you're doing. But you could do that for practicality, to be practical. But if you didn't agree on the date for Christmas, Easter, and this and the other thing, that's fine. Clean up your liturgy. Have a respectful, beautiful liturgy, and you'd have much more in common with the Orthodox than Christmas and Easter.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it doesn't bother me so much that we have different dates for Christmas and Easter, because we're following two different traditions. So what? That's fine. I have no problem with that. We have some of our Eastern rites, Catholic rites, have different feast days for different feasts. I have no problem with that. But the liturgy should be respectful. It should be beautiful. It should be reverent. And ours is not. Ours looks like it came out of the dryer, 80% dry and most of it polyester shrinkage.
I don't know. Why do you hate green carpet, Father? Why do you hate green carpet and felt banners? I don't understand what your hate is for that.
And I don't know. Something about my upbringing. I don't know.
Last night we were at our Bible study last night for the ACT Insiders, and we were looking at the book of the Apocalypse, and you can't find anywhere in sacred scripture when it comes to liturgy haphazardness. Everything is very intentional. there can be joy and dancing outside of liturgical functions. St. Paul says, greet each other with hymns and kisses and all this. That's great, wonderful. But when it comes to liturgy as depicted in the Apocalypse or even in the Old Testament, it's incredibly intentional. Smells and bells, intentionality, ad orientem. It's not only just the way we've handed it down, it's archaeologically the way that they worshipped forever, going back into history.
Yes.
So, we have lost this sense of intentionality.
Do you remember an old song? You remember an old song? The name of it was "Every Little Movement Has a Meaning All Its Own."
No.
Every little movement has a meaning all its own. No, you never heard that?
Keep
it was
going.
popular during the 40s and 50s. Anyway, but the point is, I offered the traditional mass daily, and every movement has a reason. There's a reason behind it. And you're supposed to be strictly following so that your mind as a priest doesn't wander from what you're doing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And
it's typologically rich too. Yeah, praise be to God.
My point is, let's get back to having that in common.
Did you like that video? It's okay. You can admit it. It's perfectly fine. Hey, we cover the big stories of our day, from inside the church to outside the church to all points in between, and we do it from a Catholic perspective. It's called A Catholic Take. It's a radio program Monday through Friday. We live stream it right here on this channel, by the way, so make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We would be very grateful to you. And don't forget, you're going to want to watch this video right here because you don't want to miss anything.